Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Corner Flag Talk Podcast. It's your boy John, and as always, we live to talk about the latest in football. Um, I must apologize for the lack of episode last week, and for the way I'm sounding right now. I am sick, but we are powering through to try and give you guys some content. And with like all that has happened over the last week, the Carabao Cup final, the Champions League round of 60 coming to a close, we can't let this time go by without giving you something. So, quick housekeeping is that we will be having an episode next week to keep you during the international break. And that one will have Brandon on it. What it is carded right now for is some more talk about like the state of football right now. To talk about, like what are the state of the stars in the game, what are the states of the expectations of players, are we too hard, stuff like that, and even without like calling it Balon d'Or, talk about like the Balon d'Or and stuff like that as well. But for this week to wrap up what has been going on over the last week, I have Daniel here with me for the first time in a good while. Pat, was it good, my guy?
Yeah, I get. Glad to be back. Even though it's just both of us, we should still have a good episode on today. So yeah, man, very good.
Yeah, so this episode not gonna take like the conventional structure because truth is the prep this weekend was kind of dead anyway. Once again, another weekend of, in my opinion, terrible scheduling. But I mean, like, I know it was going to be weird regardless because of the fact that the Carabao took place on Sunday, so like that does like push back the games and stuff. But even like the Saturday ones, dog, Brighton versus Man City should not be an 11 o'clock game. Like, let it be real though. Unless City play relegation further, don't put that as an 11 o'clock game, bro. Like, we want to see that prime time. But what we're going to
Yeah,
do is we're going to talk about the Carabao Cup final. We'll use that to also talk about Liverpool in a bigger sense because of the knockout from the round of 16. From that, we'll jump into the Champions League, talk about that some more, and then come back to league football and talk about specifically the title race in La Liga, which has been heating up really nicely, and the top four race in the Premier League. So, without further ado, Pat, did you actually get to see the Carabao Cup final?
no, I was actually watching a different game at the time. So
Wait, this is real
yeah, I
tragic
don't
though
watch it.
because I didn't see it.
Well, we go talk about that next week then.
But I guess the bigger thing is that, well, I have listened to a lot of people who have watched the game, and the overriding feeling was that, yeah, it was definitely deserved by Newcastle, and Newcastle were really on it from the first minute to the end. And the consolation goal, which is what it was by Keys, more made it look a lot closer than what the game really was. That there was a
Mm,
feeling that, like, that Newcastle could have gone 3-4 up in the game. A final goal for Alexander Isak, meaning that he's been scoring left, right, and center, and
yeah,
the opposition truly does not matter. And we talk about that final goal, which ended a domestic trophy wait of 70 years for Newcastle and a 53-year wait in general for trophies at Tyneside. How, we've been seeing this Newcastle project bubbling for the last like 3-4 years, Patrick. Like, how big it
yeah.
is for them to finally have some silverware attached to this project that they have going on.
Actually, it's huge because I think what silverware is like how to say it? It's like a undeniable mark that you're trending in the right direction. Or you could
Yeah.
let's just call it success. Let's just say it's a undeniable mark of success because it's something tangible. You have it, and nobody can take
Yeah.
it away. So we could if you want to allude to like the Tottenham project that was going on maybe like 4 or 5 seasons ago. We saw them really
Mm-hmm.
play and
But
compete and
Poch. Yeah.
finish second in the Prem and runners up to the Champions League and so on and so forth. But they never like really got over the
Yeah.
finish line, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
um and Carabao Cup is nowhere close to the prestige of the Premier League or the Champions
Yeah.
League, but it's still silverware. And for a team like Newcastle, I think that's really, really positive. And it's good reinforcement for them that a lot is going right over the past, and a lot has gone right over the past couple of years as well. So yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
excellent that they were able to get
Yeah, totally agree. And I mean, like, I think, like, I don't think I could have chosen the goal scorers better for them, and that Dan Burn was seen as somebody who was just bought to be the subcat at first. But he
Mm-hmm.
actually is a Newcastle born player that was
Mm-hmm.
brought back to the club, made himself a big part of the squad, scored the opener, and then Alexander Isak, who has been like the headliner for this
Yeah.
whole project, constantly linked away because of the quality that he has. Scores to put them 2-0 up at the time in the final as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw the picture. That picture probably let them be the thumbnail of Isak doing that Isak celebration. It doesn't
Yeah.
actually make any sense what he's doing it. But I find it does look so hard dog. When he doing so and he scrubby face like who that man feel he was dog when he scored. But it's been a rough week for Liverpool, man. It really has been a really rough week. And the general consensus has been that like they didn't feel like the players on the day really turned up for them. Obviously, they had Trent missing because he got injured against
Mm-hmm.
PSG. Bradley was ruled out already. But besides that, it was more or less what you expect from them. And again, just from what we heard, Robertson was one of the few that was really trying on the day. But like the general consensus wasn't that they got the effort out of them. Do you think that getting knocked out of the Champions League midweek had a knock-on effect to the mentality they went into this game with?
100%. Like getting knocked out of a big competition like that, there's absolutely no telling how the reaction could be within the camp. Because from the outside, you could theorize like it could go both ways, You could say like that could be their that could be the point where they decide to push on for the other competitions that they still are part of. But to be honest, like the psychological, let's say trauma that goes on when you
Yeah,
when you get knocked out of a big competition like that is unpredictable. Some players could respond positively, some could respond completely negatively, and that's fine to respond negatively. It's almost expected because you got
yeah,
knocked out of a really big tournament that you were quote unquote favorites for because they were top of the table coming out of the group stage. So
mm-hmm.
they were technically favorites, you know what I mean? At top of the table. I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah, yeah,
how you could not be favorites. So yeah, and then to knock out in the round of 16, you know what I mean? To a team that I
yeah,
mean, I'm sure we will get to it later, but I don't think
yeah,
people
yeah.
expected PSG to beat Liverpool. You know what I mean? It's just on paper, it
Yeah.
doesn't sound right.
No, yeah. I don't think the expectations were that, like PSG would expect it to win the Champions League, whereas Liverpool were in those conversations. And that in
Mm-hmm.
itself says the disparity of where teams are regarded going into it. But
Mm-hmm.
with this one now, it's a final. It's a final that they lost. And we're looking at, the space of the last month, they just lost the final, got knocked out of the Champions League, and got knocked out of the FA Cup at the fourth round. Now, what I want to ask then is that are we seeing that despite whether it's Slot or it's Klopp, and it can be by different factors, but this regardless of who it is, that this Liverpool squad as it is just seems to peter out towards the ends of seasons. Because even in the year that they did run away with the league, they was on this ridiculous points pace in the first half. And even in that
Mm-hmm.
year, they got knocked out of those cups early. They got knocked out of the Champions League round of 16. And just end up
Yeah.
getting their way to the title because of the gap that they made earlier. And it kind
Yeah.
of seems like we're seeing that again this year. As well as last season, we saw with their title run, they was atop the table for more than the other two teams that they were in the title race with, and end up finishing to 13 points off first. So is it that we've seen that this squad just isn't capable of fighting on the multiple fronts all the way through the season?
No, no. That's a hard one to analyze because I feel like there's so many factors there, You could say that yes, that is what we are seeing, but I think there are some other soft factors as well. I thought this was going to be the year that Liverpool remained strong throughout the whole thing because of the type of football that they play, and it seems really sustainable. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like it's not
yeah,
go, 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 like how we saw under Klopp's like first and second season with them. Actually, kind of throughout the whole project. To be fair with Klopp,
yeah.
yeah, this
Mm-hmm.
seems a lot more conservative, and I thought that was going to lend to them having the gas to go the distance, right? However, it could also maybe what we need to think about is that could any team actually go the distance? Because the Premier League is, in my opinion, by far the hardest or the most competitive league in the world right now. And then the
Yeah,
Champions League is the most competitive
high
cup,
quality. Yeah,
is the most competitive cup in club football. So, and then the FA Cup is also quite difficult. And as a Premier League club, your scheduling is also thicker than everybody else's own. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
is it possible to start
Well,
well and finish strong?
I guess some people would argue that like City have done that most seasons, and while not
Start
everything that
strong is
City does,
you know what I
no,
mean? Like,
well, then maybe it's a case of Liverpool need as a whole, regardless of how the coaches needs to change how they manage throughout the season, then, so that they can be strong at the end of the year. But
yeah.
what's the other side of this I was going to propose too is that like regardless if it was Slot or it was Inzaghi or whoever took over after Klopp, that there is going to be residual effects of that time on the clock, right? And how demanded
Mm,
those physical periods are. And the thing is that we saw a Liverpool side that yes, did peter out at the end of last season. They were like strong favorites to win Europa League 2, and they didn't
mm,
even make it past the round of 16 there as well. But that side with no signings other than Kaiser, who did score, but most Liverpool fans will tell you he's either been injured or underused. That that side is older, that side is getting older. And so you have older players who are developing muscle fatigue, that's developing some injury concerns or has had injury concerns, like Andy Robinson, like Kanate. Then you have Jota also having injury concerns. And then your pillars again older too, and Virgil and Salah. And so then now, without reinforcing, is it wise then to ask this group then to be able to maintain a pace that you're setting at the start of the season throughout
mm.
the whole year?
Well, I guess the answer no
It
is
looks like
no,
no.
but
Yeah.
I feel like I think Slot tried to address those issues and get ahead of the situation because of the style of football that they played too,
Yeah. Yeah.
Liverpool is a team that could go 2-0 up and become very reserved and conservative throughout the rest of the game and
Yeah.
rotate. You know what I mean? I thought minutes have been managed well for the most part
Yeah.
as much as he could, because you're not going to bench Salah in an important game, if you understand. And then the
Yeah.
argument
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
days is that every Premier League game is an important game because it could happen
No,
at any
yeah.
point, which it did in earlier on in the season. Liverpool lost to, I
Forest.
don't remember, but
To
was it to
Forest. Yeah.
Forest? No, but
Yeah, it
losing to
was.
Forest is not a big
Well,
deal. But
no, it don't seem
well,
like a big deal though. By the
at the
time
time,
though,
yeah,
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
look. Just last weekend going, they was one along to Southampton,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't like they played well either, and they
They
still
weren't
play with
playing
their
well.
first choice. But like I think we also seeing that like a lot of Liverpool fans, especially ones that we know, have been saying that like Slot hasn't rotated that much, and the pillars in the team itself, you're probably seeing fatigue from them. Salah hasn't been as effervescent as he has been in recent weeks. Gravenberch has looked really, really leggy over the last few weeks as well. And when Virgil is ever present in the back line, now the thing is that there is no real substitute, right? For any of those players, especially in the way that Slot plays, Gravenberch in particular doesn't have anybody to replace him. And but I guess it's the manager's job to try and find ways around that. You know.
The it's that's a real tough one because yes, the way Slot sets up the team, Gravenberch almost has to play every game because
Yeah.
unless he was to try with McAllister, but then we're looking at a case of because they both play a lot of minutes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if he went on platform McAllister instead, then he would just be the leggy guy instead of Gravenberch. So like it's a lose-lose situation. But apart from both of them, there's no one off the bench that could really do that role. Endo can't, right? And I don't know who else there is, and I don't know what other midfielder there is.
Well, two of the players that Liverpool have said that they felt like were underused is Harvey Elliott and Keys are at least in the front line. So even if we talk about
Okay.
fatigue in the back, then going forward, Luis Diaz scored in the Premier the other day, and that was his first goal since September in the
Right.
Premier League. Jota obviously hasn't been doing well, Darwin Nunes as well. Is there a case that at least in the front line there were a ton of options that he might not have used all his options?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. I think he could have been used a bit more, but then there were injury concerns too. So we don't know what was going on, you know, what was going on in the background because he was injured
Yeah.
for some time,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then we don't know how he came back. So for whatever reason, he wasn't used. On the surface, it looks like he could have been used more. Harvey Elliott is an interesting one because his best position is Salah's position, and he's never
Yeah.
going to play over him. And he's been decent as a number 10, but it's not his best position, and he's also competing for a guy that's also been pretty good at 10 in someone's life. So there could be a reason for why he's quote unquote been underused. Some are out of his control. He's going up against the best winger in the league. So you know what I mean? Unlucky. He's not going to play on the left side, not for the way that
Well,
slot plays.
no, I totally get what you're saying. I guess it's a case of that I guess Liverpool fans were more asking him to find creative solutions, because that's where the remit forced him. And I
I feel like
guess,
yes, sorry.
oh no, I was just gonna say, I guess when you just outright see players not more like this then. Coming into the season, they want to see Gravin as being the deep line playmaker, right?
Mhm.
And we've seen Elliott used in the front three, but in Salah's spot doing well. They might say to themselves, well, look, you're reinventing Gravin to play deeper. Why don't you try and use Elliott on the other side or try Salah false nine or something, But get creative with it to try and get more goals into the team because it has been just Salah for the majority of the season that they've relied on. I mean, I think it's actually really unfortunate that Gakpo got injured when he did, because I think Gakpo was finally having a season where he settled into being the starting left winger for them,
Mhm.
and unfortunately got injured. But Salah had scored or assisted 85% of their goals. That says a lot of stuff, lack of output from everybody else. And if they seen this guy coming off the bench or being used in the cups and stuff like that and doing things, then they might be asking, hey, well, why don't you try to get him in the side as well?
Yeah. No, that's a look, that's a real fair concern. At the end of the day, though, as fans, we have a lot less clarity than the managers, and especially for stuff like tweaking players' roles. I think the manager will always have a lot more insight than us, and they
Yeah,
will have their reasons. It's easier to discuss team tactics because you can't really hide from that. What you see is kind of what you
yeah,
get, and as fans, we can analyze it as well because we all get to see what is going on. But player with player roles, that's a slightly more tricky one. You know what I mean? However, I mean the argument is there that he could at least try and see what
yeah.
happens because right now it's not like the team is like really clicking or really gunning. Um, but at the same time too, this was kind of like a rebuild if you think about it, and it was a major handover too from going from the club era over to the slot
Well,
and
it's a rebuild waiting to happen then.
kind of I
Because they
feel
ain't
like it
signed
already
anybody yet,
started.
though.
They didn't sign anybody, but think of the shift in tactics. Like
Yeah, yeah. No,
tactically,
no,
they've
that's
gone
fair.
through. Yeah, they've gone through a tactical rebuild already, and now we could see like now that I think Slot has taken the correct approach. He set the foundation, and now when we come to this summer, he has the opportunity to finally make signings to reinforce the areas that he need and probably to fit the profiles in certain areas that he need as well. and also deal with,
Yeah.
maybe age concerns, players leaving the club, yeah,
Yeah. And obviously
so
the
on and
big
so forth.
three that we're waiting to see was the outcome of them.
Yeah,
If I had to ask you to like give my guess what you think is gonna happen with those three players, what would you, with your lack of knowledge, obviously,
mhm.
of their personal situations, I mean, but like was your educated guess as what you think would happen to Trent, Van Dijk and Salah?
Yeah, so if I had to guess, I think Van Dijk stays for sure. I think Trent leaves for sure, and I think if Liverpool somehow finds the money to pay Salah, he will stay. If not, he will go to Saudi because it looks like a money thing with Salah right now. And everybody knows that Saudi has the money to quadruple his wage bill if they wanted to. So Liverpool will have to come and at least meet his demands for him to turn down generational wealth
Yeah,
to
yeah,
stay and
yeah, yeah,
compete with Liverpool again. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's the only issue. I think if they meet it, he will stay for sure. I
yeah.
think if it's anything short of that, he's going to Saudi.
My
And that's
guess
fine.
has been my guess has been for the longest while that Trent is gone. And I kind of think like I don't, not that I think it's time, but like I think like he's done a lot for them, and if he wants to take that next go to a club where he feels like he competes more regularly, then fair enough. I saw today that that Jurgen Klopp is the sporting director for the Red Bull project, right? I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure if you knew that, right? You know that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I saw today that he's actually interested in bringing Van Dijk to the MLS with with Red Bull, New York Red Bulls. So
Interesting.
I'm not sure if that's one to watch, but my gut has always been that one would stay and that two would end up leaving. Just because like I don't get me wrong, I think that they all have grounds to believe that they should stay, right? And I think fans would want them to stay too. But if you went into this season and by whatever your metrics are, that you had your pros and cons and whatever, and you decided that like, okay, is the best interest in the club to not renew these contracts
Hmm.
and reinvest some money elsewhere, then don't go off just this last season and think that screws up all the analysis. Reason being that, like, if you felt like there's a drop coming from Salah and from Virgil in particular, because they're the older ones, then,
Mm-hmm.
like, you don't want to get catch in a situation like many teams in the past, like Arsenal in particular, with like Orban and stuff, where you give them that big deal to stay 3 more years, and before you know it, you end up in a situation where they just aren't physically at it anymore. And so we'll see what goes on there.
Wait, quick question. Based
Yeah.
based strictly on like if money was not a factor, right? You were slot and you could keep only one. Who would you keep? You could
So I
keep
have
one, you
an
have to
answer.
get rid of two, and money is not an issue.
Right. I have an answer, and I actually don't think this answer is popular at all. But my answer
Okay.
has been Trent, and it will continue to be Trent.
Okay.
And the reasons for that is that I think that, first of all, one, he's youngest. So you have a higher chance of success with him for a long time. Right? Second of
Mm-hmm.
all, is that like I think that Virgil went try ACL tear, and everything that he's done since then is literally miraculous to keep playing at this level. All that to say that I do think that he will fall off at some point. And
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to get catch in that. Salah, same thing, but I just think like there's gonna come a point where they just aren't producing at that level. Whereas I think like with Trent, I think that there is a tactical demand on him that I don't think is appreciated enough. I think there's a creative role that is asked of him that's not appreciated enough. And because of the slot system, he's not getting any goals and assists like how he would have gotten on the club. That people don't see him as important because Bradley comes in and does a decent role. But Bradley doesn't do Trent role when he comes in. He comes and
Mm-hmm.
fills in at right back. He doesn't fill in as Trent. And I think that the second that Trent leaves this club permanently, yeah, they just have right now their 2-3 game runs where he doesn't play and he doesn't show for it. And his missing presence doesn't show up. But I think over a season, you will see lack of Trent presence. You know, I've been on record saying this, and I still stand by this, that I think he's top three passers in the world of football. I genuinely believe that. I think
Mhm.
first time passes, he's one of the best, if not the best passer in the world. And I think that when you see Salah, Soboslai, whoever may be getting the goal and assist something, I beg people to go back and watch and see where those passes start. Because 90% of them plays start with Virgil play, not Virgil, with Trent playing some role. And sometimes it's be start off at right back, sometimes he's going midfield and help out, sometimes be out wide. He just have a key passer playing all that. I think that's taken for granted. So for me, and I think like your best, like just purely on numbers, your best chance of return. You know, he's 26. He have like 6 years again at the top level. He doesn't rely on pace. His quality is all in execution. Like, you know. And like let's be real, right? They gotta replace him probably with Bradley, trying to get understudy for Bradley, right? But like how many right backs you will really better than Trent? You know? And I don't mean this to put down the quality of what Virgil has done, right? But I think that if you had to scrap the other two positions, start over, like you're not gonna get the same thing, and there is going to take some rebuild, but you can't go and sign a high level centre back. You can't go and sign a high level right winger, or at least somebody who's accustomed to producing the final thing. You know, like if they
Mhm.
get Buemo, somebody who's comfortable receiving and trying to finish. Obviously, don't gonna be Salah Lamas, but let me be real, Patrick. Whenever that day comes, that day go on, nobody gonna reproduce Salah Lamas. Like that is just life, you
Yeah,
know. But I think like you could still get those profiles. Trend profile don't exist on the market, you know. So yeah.
fair enough. That's not a bad argument, I think. So then part
What
two
would
to
that
the
be
question,
yours?
right? And
Okay, yeah.
okay, yeah, part two to the question. Again, money is not an issue. You're keeping Trent, and in 10 seconds, who do you buy to replace each of the other two?
So Slotterback would be my first choice for Van Dyke. Just because I think like you still get that same passing range, you got a left footer to play on your left side. And then Buemo would be my choice for the right side. Already accustomed to the Prem, accustomed me that goal scoring focus in our side as well. So
Fair
yeah.
enough. That's not bad. Wonder when Boomer would step up to those kind of demands,
Yeah,
Because right
yeah,
now,
yeah.
if
That is
Brentford loses a
obviously it.
game, no one cares.
Yeah. I mean, like, look last weekend, we was talking about, like, FPL decisions, right? And I literally tell it, like, I started to think of them more because he didn't really perform away from home, right? But, like, I really think that's a him problem per se. I think that's just, Brentford. Funny enough, he scored, or did he have assists? One of them, he scored assists, and they did
Mhm.
win away from home, right? But, yeah, I think that'll be my two shouts. The other one, I just don't think he would leave, but I've been Murillo from Forest.
Bad shot.
Now, I know that he's more the aggressor in the two
Yes.
center backs. But that's also the mind of I think Konate is gonna leave too, which is a whole other thing.
Okay.
But like Konate is going into this last year of his deal, and apparently PSG is strongly interested in him as well. And see him as the successor for Marquinhos, who's like 32 or something at this point. So yeah. Um what would have been your choice too? If you had to renew one and who would I replace with the other two?
I would keep Van Dijk because I don't see them getting a replacement for Van Dijk. And I agree with what you're saying with Trent that you probably can't buy a replacement for him for that role. I think he got a good enough
Yeah.
right back and just
And change the
slightly
system.
tweak the yeah. It wouldn't even be a
Mm-hmm.
full-on system change. I think we would just tweak the right back or on our outside shout get a midfielder that I could
To
put
actually
there.
do it.
You
Oh,
know?
okay. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like get a midfielder and like someone that I think is a good profile for right back and slot him in there. I think with Van Dijk though, I think he still have 2, 3 years maybe at the top level still.
Okay.
I do. His style of play, he's not sprinting often.
Yeah, he
It's
isn't. Yeah.
it's a really cerebral game with him, and I don't see many centre backs that understand the game as much as he does. And then when it's time to defend, he's still 6'4". He's very strong. Times his tackles well. So
Yeah.
yeah, man. that, right? Because you could say someone like, okay, Bastoni might be someone nice to get, but he doesn't have the physical that Van Dijk, like when it comes still to defending, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
one of the
like
most
Van Dijk
physical in
is
the world.
a monster at 1v1s still,
Yeah.
at this age.
You know
So,
what I forgot to say, but like
mhm.
I really do believe it's gonna happen, and we'll just see if it does. I think one of those two gonna go PSG, yeah, but we'll see.
Well,
I
speaking
think
of
one of
PSG, so
Salah or VVD will go PSG.
to replace, I would have say Dembele to replace Salah. I think
It's about
I
that
think it
time,
makes
man.
sense. It is. He's accustomed to being at big. He's been at two big clubs, and he's been treated
Yeah,
negatively at one and treated really well at the other one. So in terms of like managing demands, I think it will be fine. And he plays for France, and this is a guy that's played in multiple finals, and he knows how to win, and he knows how to lose. So yeah, I
he'll do
think
well.
Dembele will. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, hey,
So
look, we was talking about Dembele someday as well, and we was talking about how, like, he's finally coming to his own on the being loved as the main man. And if you go there
yeah,
to replace Salah, you will be the main man.
hundred
So
percent.
I
He
think that's a
would.
great shot.
Yeah, they would give the keys to
Yeah.
him, and then at right back, that would be a tough one. That'd be a very tough one because it would
Uh-huh.
take me some time. Like off the top of my head, I don't have a midfielder that might
No, you know
suit
who,
the bill.
like, there's a whole other profile, right? Because he's more overlapping PC right back, right? But like every time I watch Hakimi, I'm really impressed by him,
Yeah, but I don't
like
want to say him because I don't dig out PSG now, way. So
right. No,
yeah,
fair. This was just more aside from the point. I like we could start to talk about the PSG Liverpool tie. But like,
yeah,
last year or whatever it was that we did the world class episode, I did say that I think Hakimi should be considered world class. I like, bro, every time I watch him, I think like he's a very complete right back, and
hmm
like he technically is actually really secure. Like again in this specific tie, as the game went on, to me, like he actually started to invert a lot on counters. So he would have run to the middle so that when they go wide now, that the space opens up. So he goes narrow, they go wide, and the winger could go and get the overlap going. And so like I think like he's a very good shout, like not just for them, but if for any reason that Trent does actually stay. Madrid dog, go and bring the man back. Like, why not? But
hmm
on this tie now, you watch both legs, and I think like PSG did deserve to go through in the end. But like
yeah,
football is not about deserve, it's about taking. And I think like the reason a lot of people did not properly estimate the challenge that PSG was going to pose to Liverpool is that like for years the concern was like, that PSG had this like really soft stomach. And when it went down in the first, like despite being super dominant, most people felt like, yeah, well, the guy just ended up rolling over his Anfield, stuff like that. Since the last time that Liverpool won the Champions League, which was in 18-19 Batik, you want to guess how many knockout games at home Liverpool has won?
knockout games at home.
Yeah. So these Anfield nights, right? These Anfield Champions
Yeah,
League nights. How many knockout games at Anfield do you think that Liverpool have won? So that was 18-19, right? So since then we had the 19-20, 20-21, 21-22. They missed 22-23. They missed out 23-24, and now 24-25. So that is 5 seasons. In 5 seasons, how many knockout games? They reached a final in one of those years too, eh? So how many of those games do you think they won at home?
going with in 5 seasons.
And they reached the final in one, eh?
I want, yeah, exactly. So I want to go with 13.
Home games and the knockouts alone, eh?
I went to the finals in one.
But they've played a grand total of 7 knockout games. So let me help you out with
7?
this. Yeah.
How? So they
So
keep
they
getting knockouts in the round of 16?
so they have had actually, yeah, I think it's 3 round of 60 knockouts. Or maybe
So they
it's
just
something like
suck.
that. It's something like that. Like 3 round. No. It's 2 round of 60 knockouts. Then a quarter final, so that's 4. And then the year that they reached the final was the other 3. That they round of 16 quarters and semis. So 7. In 7
Fair
attempts
enough.
at home,
Yeah,
how
fair
much of
enough.
them you
Well,
think they
then
win?
13 was a crazy shout then. Well, I'm not
Yeah.
doing it for Anfield, dog. At least 5 then. I
They
know they
have
beat Barca at
won
home.
1.
Oh, so that was against Barcelona?
So, no. So the Barca one was the year that they went to the final and won, right? So since then, since that year, they've only won one knockout game at Anfield since then.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And obviously, so they lost Atletico the following year at home, which was, the Morata, where he kneel down and
Yep.
pray when they knock him out. Then Real Madrid beat them at home, where it was like 5-2 or something. A year clubs last season in Champions League, and then now they lose to PSG at home as well. And so I think like not going over the top, but like people will talk about like this Anfield coming home to Anfield and stuff. But I think like you saw a lot of the PSG players talking post the first leg, and they were saying, "Don't worry, we are going to win at Anfield." And I think it's one thing to talk the talk, and yes, they walk the walk, but I think like given their history, Patrick,
Mm-hmm.
for them to feel so confident in themselves to come and speak like this despite being down,
Yeah,
I think that says so much about how far the character as a group has come
true.
that they felt confident enough to say that. And it was Vitinha who was saying that. And I watched the performance he put on in Anfield.
Yeah, boy.
Him and João Neves were
Yeah.
magnifique, dog. They were fantastic, bro. They were exceptional. I mean, I think like every PSG player probably was fantastic, right? But like I thought Pacho was great. Or like I was a fan of Pacho since he was at Frankfurt, right? But like like PSG sometimes could infect these players to not be the
Yeah.
best. I thought he was really good across both legs. But the more surprising thing was the performance of some of these Liverpool players. I think the second half of the Anfield, they were a bit better, but still wasn't what you expected. And so they obviously got knocked out. Do you think that like is that a case where PSG were underestimated too much by Liverpool, or what was it that caused them to get knocked out?
I feel like it was legs on the day. PSG, especially like the first leg, the intensity that PSG came out with was something I didn't expect at all. I didn't expect PSG to dominate the game. Even if they were to
Yeah,
win somehow, I thought it was going to be more of like a counter-attack situation. Because that has worked against Liverpool, and PSG has like a really muy rapido front three, and they
yeah,
have
man.
fullbacks that go. So I thought
Yeah.
like I really thought the play was going to be soak pressure and try to hit them on the counter. I thought it might have worked, but it did the complete opposite. Like, but fair enough, I should have known that Enrique, he just doesn't have that in his DNA. He will never
No, but to be
try to
fair,
not play.
I think that wing play really highlighted where Liverpool do have weaknesses in defending that space, especially when you manage to isolate their fullback. That
Yeah,
speed, like neither of their fullbacks really have speed, and especially Robertson, he's older now. Like don't
yeah.
have that speed to track back and defend like that. Worse it when you're doubling up on them like that. I think like all they really missed was probably a little bit more box presence in the first leg. They had somebody that they could have trusted to be that quality. Obviously, we know they go with this false nine, which paid evidence in the second leg when Dembele did score. But like not all what they felt like they was missing because they was getting right today. And credit to Alisson, he kept them out really
I was
well.
going to say I don't know if a striker was the problem because or if missing a striker was the problem because they did everything right and Alisson was just on God
Yeah,
mode on that day. And goals were ruled out. I mean, Kvaratskhelia scored. It got
but
ruled out by
here,
a millimeter. So
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I think they did everything right.
no, and actually,
Second leg. Mhm,
mhm. I was gonna say on that note though, like I feel like sometimes we just feel like just because team lost, they did things bad, but
mhm.
PSG lost our first leg, but like the truth is like they didn't really do anything wrong, like they did
It
everything
was
right, and they just come up against a mountain in goal, bro.
literally losing that game I think was nonsense. Because
Yeah,
yeah, they did as much as they can. Um,
yeah,
Obviously, like these things can't happen twice, and they managed to
yeah.
score in the second leg, and And Liverpool, you know, in the first leg, also Liverpool did not even really deserve to score.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
barely made attempts on goal. They barely made
That was their
attempts
only attempt.
at
That was the only attempt.
right. And I was going to follow that up with that. They barely made attempts to even build an
Get to the
attack.
point
You
of
know what
making
I
an
mean?
attempt.
Like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
it
I
was
think like
rough. It was a real
I think
rough
like
game for
somebody
them.
who also had really two legs on Nuno Mendes. And I mean like people gonna watch the fact that Salah no score is Nuno Mendes shut him down. I think also Salah
Yeah.
just played really poorly, especially that first leg.
Yeah.
Like he was really
Yeah.
kicking the ball out of play and stuff, right? The second leg though, I think the second leg he did more work in stifling Salah and making life hard for
Yeah.
Salah, you know.
To be
And
fair,
I yeah.
no, keep going.
Oh, I was gonna just say like I think like that was more the leg where I would credit him in making life harder for Salah. More like the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
like when you saw the stats of like duels one and stuff, it was against like the whole Liverpool team, whoever he was contested, it wasn't just Salah. But the second leg was more a man to man job on Salah that he did really well.
100%. I think his 1v1 defending is good though. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but then Salah too, like sometimes he comes up against pacey fullbacks and it's tough for him now.
Yeah.
So coming up against athletic fullbacks, I should say, is it has
What
been
what did
tough
you
for him.
feel about Salah's like these two games? I mean, this is somebody who he's gonna win the Prem. That's no question. That he's gonna
Yeah,
go down with statistically the best Premier League season ever. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
but like when we see games like this, it like even when we watched like just Prem greats alone, Henry, Rooney, Ronaldo, those kind of stuff. Like we didn't really feel like if there were games that they were nullified, like there were games that they don't score, but you still feel like they tried to force things, trying to make things happen. Whereas these two games, it didn't have that feel from Salah, and I don't know if that is being harsh. I don't want to be harsh, but I feel like of the echelon of player, like even KDB, I still feel like KDB had a propensity to like force things in games. I don't feel like we still had that same force and nature feel from Salah in this tie against a team that, as you rightfully said, like people felt like PSG were gonna get knocked out. That was the general consensus.
no, I 100% agree with you. Like as I said, it's okay to like when you're having this kind of season, it's okay to go into a season defining game and not score as an attacker. That's okay. It's okay to not score, but you still have to find ways to affect the game. And that's where when you go back through most of the let's just say all. Let's call three. Why don't you just call any three greats of the game that you would like to
But we can
call?
use those three we just say. So like just because there's Prem too, right? So Henry, Ronaldo, Rooney, those three, you
Oh,
know?
you cannot give me an important game where they did not affect the game. Whether they
Yeah.
win or lost the game. Let's just start with Rooney. Him in particular will def 100% find a way to affect the game
You could
regardless
get
of what
red card
position he's
somebody.
playing.
Yeah.
Exactly. It doesn't even it does not matter. It doesn't matter if he woke up and didn't have breakfast or he didn't sleep last night or they're playing him number 6 today for whatever reason or whatever. No, he will find a way to do something. It doesn't have to be popping up with a goal,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he will 100% affect the game. Henry, we don't even need to mention him because if it's a big game or if it calls for a big moment, he's somehow scoring. Nobody knows why, but he will find a way to score. And out his way of affecting the game, it might even be a penalty. But you know,
I think even
and then
Ronaldo
Ronaldo
had
is
that.
like, come on, dog. I don't even need to
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo. Dog, this is the man with the most clutch moments in the UCL. So he
Yeah.
like he's the only one you don't even need to mention because dog, his team could be losing and they haven't recorded a shot for the entire game as yet, and then boom, play the ball out wide, come back in, bicycle, then go to penalties, win the game, blah blah blah. Like you know the history now, where you have too much
Yeah.
of those moments, especially in big games. So for Salah, if he wants to be up there, and chill with the big boys, then when it comes to the big moments, I'm not saying you have to score or assist, but you need to at least play. And he did not play.
Yeah,
Both days he did not play.
yeah.
So at this
And
time,
there's
man, I
one
had
thing
a
if it
late
was
start.
one game, and it was
Mhm.
one thing if it was just the first leg. But even the second leg, I still didn't feel like it was enough from him. You know?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, even with Messi too. I think Messi is a good example as well because he's so scrutinized. When it's a big game and he doesn't score, but just
Yeah,
because he doesn't score, sometimes he still won the game. Like he still
yeah,
would win the game for Barcelona.
yeah,
And you know what I mean? With Salah, I don't get that. I could think of a lot of games that he went flat. A lot of important games, and it's usually around this period too. Like this Ramadan
yeah,
period. I don't know what is going on. I mean, me personally, I don't know what it is to not eat for whole day and not
yeah,
drink
yeah,
water
yeah,
for the
for
whole day.
sure.
So, you know what I mean? But like, come on, you know what I mean? You have to
Yeah.
play.
Do you think that this like severely dents his Balon d'Or hopes?
It's done. He's not getting the
Yeah.
Balon d'Or. It's not happening.
I
So
think
that's
that the
one
only
horse
way
out.
I think the only way that he gets the Ballon d'Or at this point is that he has to break. I'll be very serious with this. That he has to break
Mhm.
Haaland's goal scoring record. He has to break Henry's assist record. And you might say that is being real extreme, but we're going to ask the Ballon d'Or committee, whoever that is, to award somebody who left the Champions League at the round of 60 stage awarded, right? So, what is your argument outside of losing a cup final and again knock out the Champions League in the round of 16, right? So, he has to
Yeah.
break those two things, right? And he has to hope that a team like Villa or Inter, so I think that doesn't have a standout candidate to win the Champions League.
Yeah. So
Like
all of that
that
has to
is
happen.
yeah, because it can't be Bayern because Kane has a solid argument building for this Ballon d'Or,
That's
low
wise,
key,
yeah.
and he's getting the clutch moments that people have been asking from him for and stuff like that. If they win it,
Yep.
the chances that Kane scores, right? Rafinha, he to me right now is probably the
Yeah,
top of
he's
the
one
queue
of the
right
front
now.
runners. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
Mbappe has been
Hmm.
finally hitting the gas. And if
Yeah.
they win it, chances are he's going to be the one again. So, yeah, I kind of feel the same as well. I think that it takes a really special case, a special set of scenario for him to
Yep.
win the Ballon d'Or at this point. Cool.
Yeah.
So, anything else you want to say about this game? Anybody else let you know? I thought Konate had a really poor both legs. But
It's more. I was more in awe of PSG. I thought they played
yeah.
really, really, really well. That front three is nice. Vitinha is really good, man. He's
Yeah, boy.
I thought
I
Marquinhos was excellent too. He didn't have too
yeah,
much
bro.
defending to do, but when he did have to defend, really, really good
Honestly,
resilience.
boy, the whole 11 plus Dewey, I think
Yeah,
has
Doué
been
played.
fantastic, dog. Like
Yeah.
Dewey, this might be hype or whatever, dog. But this brother, his name are Junior, dog. The way that he just bend over on pause or over the ball and like a bait man, dog, is the same way, dog. The way that he just wiggle and move through players, dog. Like he does remind me of what we thought Brazilians killers were, dog. And bring back that jogo. What's the French? Jogo body talk.
Nice. Nice.
Good grief. Okay. All right, let me go through the other Champions League ties now. So
Right.
the one with all the controversy was the Real Madrid versus Atletico. The first leg, only bangers was scored. Only bangers. Then the second leg, Patagal became the first Englishman to score for Atletico in a Madrid derby. And went on to penalties. I think
Yep.
Atletico honestly did outplay Real in the second
Yeah.
leg.
Yeah.
Mbappe had a phenomenal run to win the penalty and then Vinny skied it over bar.
I don't even know why he
Really,
took that.
really poor plan. Yeah, I didn't think he should have
Yeah, I
taken that
don't
either.
know
And I
why.
mean, like, it's easy for people to tell us, hey, only saying that in hindsight. Like,
I
I
didn't say it
think
in
Mbappe,
hindsight. On the
we said it
second,
in the
I have
time.
my receipts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought, like, Mbappe's been taking them. And he is, if it's one thing, dog, I don't consider Mbappe, like, a butler at all. You know, like Mbappe scores in clutch moments, though. You know, like
Yeah.
I think he'd up away the pen and we would not have this discussion about extra time. But then extra time did happen. And penalties happened. There was a
Yeah.
controversy over the pen. You have anything you want to say about that? To me, just that is the rule and that is unfortunate.
He touched it twice.
What I would say is that I don't think the rule is harsh. And
It is.
maybe can we open the conversation of revising the rule? Because what people have been saying is that if a keeper is caught being off the line for the penalty, then they retake the pen.
Yeah.
So if there's grounds for the pen to be retaken on the keeper side, I think like nobody in a pen shootout is going to try to double touch the ball. You know, like if they slip, then
It's a mistake.
if they slip and double touch it. Now if they slip and hit it,
No, if you slip and double touch it, that's a mistake. If you slip, double touch it, and it scores,
just leave
it
it.
should be retaken. No, not
Or
don't
just
leave
retake
it.
it.
It should be.
Okay. I ain't hearing you, boy.
Can
Yeah, I hear you.
The reason for that rule is because it throws off the keeper. If it goes on
Yeah,
target,
yeah.
it's probably impossible for the keeper to save it. So
Yeah.
that's the whole reason for the rule. The rule was also not really around slips, but that whole double touch rule is because theoretically in a pen, if you could touch the ball twice, you could roll the ball forward and then beat the keeper and then score if you wanted to, because you could touch the ball as many times
Yeah.
as you want, right? Yeah, so that's why you only get one touch until another player touches it. A lot of people don't know you could hit the ball off the
Yeah, you
crossbar.
can't.
You can't
Yeah.
touch it
Pick the
again.
rebound.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't. One player has to touch it first. If the keeper pushes it onto the crossbar, different scenario. You could finish that.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. It's a very straightforward rule. However, I think we could say that if there's a slip and it's a hey what, let's just make it easier then. If it's a double touch and it's a goal, yellow card to the taker and retake the pen. Just like
I can live
how
with that.
if a goalkeeper comes off his line, yellow card and retake the pen.
Yeah, I can live with.
And that way you can't do it multiple times. Because if you do it again, you're gonna get red. And that's it.
But so obviously after that Marcus Llorente, I honestly thought that pen. I know everybody was saying like, but he was so close to making it work. I personally don't. If I see a man just rest and kick the ball real fast, unless you are Ronaldo, Keane, Mbappe, these men who are accustomed taking pens, dog, I think you want madness. Like being real, that is kind of where I is, dog. You settle along, take your pen properly, whatever. Like there's actually I don't know if it was you or Salah. I was saying this, but like there's actual studies to people who take longer to take their pens have a higher rate of scoring, and Marcus Llorente rushed it, and then Oblak with a terrible save on Rudiger. Like I have no clue how that went through it, but it did, which now sets up the tie between Real Madrid and Arsenal, right? It really makes sense to talk about the Arsenal tie because within like 40 minutes there was no tie, and Arsenal came 2 goals shy of the record of most goals in a knockout tie, which is 14. There were 12 in this time. So
who made the record?
I don't know. I'll have to check. There's somebody who told me it. I didn't go and see this anyway. But I am not an Arsenal fan anymore. But somebody who probably follows Arsenal better than most people. Their only chance of doing anything at all is by really locking into the fact that they do have one of the best defenses in Europe, and that for Saka to come back fit.
Oh yeah, because I was waiting for you to talk about the Saka thing.
But well, to be fair, so I didn't know for a fact that he has been training. They just haven't been letting the public know.
I thought I was going to bury some type of goat behind the stadium, and Saka's hamstring just going and heal somehow. Guy heal on its own, and he's gonna play the game.
I do think that like Arsenal, even at the weekend, show like how comfortable they can be in getting into a low block and trying to play on the counter. Sometimes It's just needing the piece, needing the attackers. And I actually did think at the weekend, we wouldn't really get into it because the Arsenal game this weekend was dead. But like I thought Martinelli had a pretty good game at the weekend. I thought like he created a good bit of moments. I think he, with that extra touch, might have scored on a shot that he took. I think between him, Saka, and if Trossard could wake up and start back to have a decent run of form, that it can cause problems. I'm not going to sit here and say that Arsenal have the higher chance or whatever it is because Madrid have all the difference makers. But what I have seen consistently about analysis of Madrid is that Madrid defensively can be gotten at. And that Madrid defensive structure isn't there. And that it kind of has been real makeshift throughout the season. I think too many not being able to play at least the first leg does give Arsenal an advantage because that is where the muscle in their midfield comes from. And so Arsenal can win the physical battle in midfield. It's just for them. And this is the thing about any team that really plays Madrid. You will get your chances in it. You just have to take them. You know? And
100%.
that's kind of where that is. But you know what I would say, why? I did want Arsenal to draw Madrid. Not from the point of view per se of, oh, well, Madrid is the easier one because Atletico go and sit deep. Whereas Real will come at here, space to attack, not that sharpness. I wanted Arsenal to play Madrid for two reasons. One, in my lifetime of watching that club, I've never seen them play Real Madrid in the Champions League. And like it would have been really nice to see something different. And then two, bro, I'm a big believer of like, I don't want it to be like how United used to win the Champions League over the last few years where you're just there to make up numbers. If you're here and you really believe that you can't go on to win this, then play the best teams. And let me see you knock out the best teams. And imagine now in the 1% world where Arsenal does go through against Real Madrid, right? The kind of high on confidence this group would have to be in the semi-finals. You just knocked out the reigning champions. And now you have PSG, more than likely PSG or Villa. You can have Barca or Dortmund, and then you can have Inter or Bayern, you know? But in the last four, you know, and you just knocked out the reigning champions. You just knocked out a bunch of players who just feel like they have the God-given right to be Balon D'or winners, you know? So go and prove yourself. Go and prove yourself against the best. See what you have. You know, I think Arsenal have a lot of players that believe that they belong to be in certain conversations. I think the centre-back parents believe, and I do think this too, that they are amongst the best in the world. Declan Rice believes he's one of the best midfielders in the world. Odegaard would want to prove a point with his former club. Saka believes he's one of the best wingers in the world. All right, let me go and do it. And see how they prove it against the best. And see what come out of it. You know? All that to say though, the odds is that Real Madrid going to win. And I be so real, Arsenal could have a 4-0 lead in the first leg. The middle week pod that we gotta have, you would not catch me saying, oh well, you know, Arsenal going through still, because we all know that Real Madrid juju is something different.
Hey, I'm telling you. Like, I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a good game, and I don't think that Madrid are going to have an easy time. And I personally if Saka plays, I'm not too sure who will win the game. But if he doesn't, I just don't
by the way, I believe Ferland Mendy is out. And I know that while Real Madrid fans don't like him, like he does offer that athletic defensive presence. Yes. And that is somebody that you would have wanted to play against Saka as compared to Fran Garcia.
100%. He does. So we will have to see. We'll see. I just don't know. I don't know if Arsenal have the attack.
The firepower.
Yeah.
Honestly,
and it's two legs, you know. It's not like you could just park it for one game.
No, boy. Honestly, boy, if it is that Arsenal had Kai fit, boy, and we could have pulled Kai Martinelli and Saka and just have that presence. And like, I know, like, I'm not going to sit on here and pretend like Kai is the most clinical or whatever. But like, I think like they work really well together. Like him and Saka work really well together to 1-2 punch teams, you know, and like they facilitate one another really, really well. I just do like the way that thing's going. I could so see Arteta go and play Marino and strike regardless of who fitted it. And now I do not agree with it, right? But I did read some analysis today where it was like, if you watch his last few games, the performances have been improving, and he kind of is leading the position. And they say like Arsenal have been at their best, so they've had a focal point at the nine. And Marino kind of does offer that reference point because of his size and stuff like that. And so, I don't know. But I look forward to it though. I really, really do. Even last year, I did I didn't want to face Bayern. Like the truth is, and I said that then I didn't want to face Bayern just because like Arsenal as a club have so much history against Bayern. But like with Real, there is that big game feel, and there is no history. In fact, the only time these two clubs have ever met in the Champions League, Arsenal knock out Real, which is the irony. And that was the Galacticos era too. And like what I listened to our pod last week and when the draw was when it was confirmed, and it was like what the Arsenal team of that era realized is that when you strip away the name, you realize that these players and you all there isn't much difference between the two of you all. And once you match them, you can knock them out. And I think this team now, I think that they would have gotten over the awe factor from last year when they played Bayern. And now we should be a little bit more accustomed to. You're winning the Champions League, and we're here to win. We're not here to just make up numbers. And I think it'll be a good game. Don't know who will go through. More money will be on Real. Yeah, it 100% depends who starts. Because if we go into that game, dog, and I see Trusted Martin and Marino as my front three, dog,
I think it's done.
Good. A real good, dog. A real good. It's over. All right, cool. Let me move on from there. To be fair, PSG gonna go try and play Villa, who did really, really well to like swat aside Club Brugge. Quick 1 minute from you on how Asensio and Rashford have come in January and have really, really kindled a really nice partnership together.
Yeah. I mean, in all fairness, we've seen this happen a lot of times with high-profile players moving on to smaller clubs and kind of finding themselves again. This happens all the time, to be fair. So maybe we shouldn't be too starstruck that it happened, but I'm glad I did, especially more for Asensio. I could care less about Rashford. Maybe that's something bad to say. I don't know, but I had an affinity to him. But really glad that Asensio, hit the ground running. That guy has there's so much talent there, man. I don't want to be too negative, so I just not even gonna talk about Rashford, to be honest. But I'm happy that Asensio is finding his feet. There's a lot of talent there that I felt kind of got swept under the rug, and I really hope that just half a season at Villa is enough to kickstart, something big again for him.
Yeah, Rashford's he's really impressed me. He really, really has impressed me. Asensio, that like I didn't know that he had this capacity to his game still, and I feel like this is the first time like I regularly see him regularly at a club. Like obviously I wasn't watching him at PSG and at Real. He was still like when he was about to break the team is when he got the injury, and then after that it was like up and down. They have a tie against PSG, and I think both teams would feel like they have edges to go through, But I do think the money would be on PSG, but like there's so much like undercurrent in this tie, I mean, Martinez in goal denied France from winning the World Cup. You have Rashford who had that moment in Paris with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You have Asensio against his parent club. You have Unai Emery against his former club as well. So like, there's a lot of storyline. Lucas Digne as well against his former club. So a lot of storyline in this tie. And I do think it'll be close.
PSG got to slap them.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, to be fair, PSG would be right off that high.
How are they going to defend that front three?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, you're very right.
There's actually no one there that's a really good 1v1 defender, first of all. And we've seen that even if you park it in, which Emery is probably going to do, Dembele could still wiggle his way, and like Kvara could wiggle his way, and Doué could find some space where there's no space, and Vitinha will, it's like,
Actually, no, you're right. I was trying to be nice, but I do think PSG gonna go through as well. Okay.
Yeah,
Next on the bracket, Inter beat up Feyenoord. Nothing really to say there.
yeah,
Um, Bayern Munich destroy Leverkusen though, and like
yeah, boy.
I didn't expect that, but like I
Same.
also feel like if when I was Xabi Alonso lineups, I just feel like he overbraining it. Like there's no strike any lineup thing. This is 60 defenders in the lineup thing. Like I
Yeah,
feel like if he's been trying a bit too hard, and I mean it's easy to say post hoc, easy to say after the fact, but like you know, you needed goals in the second leg, boy. You tried that
yeah.
60 defender thing in the first leg, and that is where you do second leg. Like I just think that was really, really poor from him. But big up company and big up Bayern on the whole, Keane for
Just
the
wonder if
clinic they put
company
out.
even know what he's been doing.
Yeah,
To be
boy.
honest, I don't even. I don't know. Okay, I don't know.
I
I
don't
don't
know
know, but
either.
yeah.
But he here
Big
though.
up
But
those
he
guys.
in, and I mean they set it up. What I think, I'll be real. I think like the happy go lucky ride for company kind of ends here, in my opinion. But let's see what they have for them because I think Inter right now for me is my favorite to reach the final on that side of the bracket. And mostly
Oh
because
yeah.
I think
Oh, no.
Barca have the attacking firepower that everybody can see coming, right? But I
Mhm.
think not you, the general public, is understating how good Inter can be at shutting the back door against other teams. And
Yeah,
so I think it'll be a really good contrast of styles to see in that semi final at least.
it
Because on the
would.
other side of the bracket is Dortmund just get through, just managed to get through past Lille. Like a penalty that was not given for PSG in the Liverpool game get given in this game, which is whatever. And then obviously you all made light work of Benfica with Yamal lighting up the second half, and became one of the 5 youngest goal scorers in the knockout stage of the Champions League.
Yeah. Yamal is
But
something else.
do you think he intended that pass for the first one?
Yeah, 100%.
I
He
generally
made
do not
that.
think he did, though.
Think you're a
I
shooter?
honestly think I think he was shooting. I generally think he was shooting.
I've seen him make that pass at least 10 times.
Okay,
That
fair enough.
technique, it's weird.
I will get that.
Like he's kind of cut it,
Yeah,
like right off his toe, and his spin, like same way how we will spin with the outside foot. But in the angles where he can't use the outside of his foot, he just
yeah,
spin it off his inside. And
yeah,
that's why I even think it was a pass, because I've seen it happen like consistently before. And he got his head up. So after
yeah,
cutting in, he got his head up, and his head was not looking at the goal. So I really do think that I think it was a pass. I
fair.
think if you
No, fair. I
I don't know.
invite him.
It could be a shot that just went horribly wrong though.
No.
But he didn't
I
follow through
invited
like
it
he
at
didn't
all.
follow through like it was a shot either.
But to be fair, the man shot, the one that scored looked like it was a cross too. Just because I like how it was slowly caressing into the goal
Yeah.
log. But like
I think
that
he
was
shot it
definitely a
though.
shot down. No, that was definitely a
Yeah.
shot down. I invited that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So Barca obviously going through, and I get where you start. I'll be honest. I think Inter is my choice to reach the final, but I do think that if Barca do reach the final, I think Barca win it out. Like that's kind of where I stand. If
Hopefully.
Barca get
That
through
would be nice.
Inter, I think they will win it out.
If it's a
But
Barca Madrid finals, I think Barca wins.
so my hot take is though, it's
Seeing
not a
everybody else
classical
out of it.
final. Somebody gonna trip up along the way, but we'll
I don't
see
think it will be
who it
a
is.
classical final either.
Yeah.
I think Madrid will lose
All
at some
right.
point.
Cool. So let me just run through the top four and the Champions League and the title race in La Liga real quick. We could go with La Liga
Okay,
title
sure.
race.
Mhm.
Ole come back from behind to beat Atletico this weekend. I was watching the game. 2 really nice goals from Atletico to open the game. But I think given how defensively strong we're supposed to regard Atletico Madrid, boy, I just feel like that was just so poor from them. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not taking away the quality that you all did to come back from behind, but I just feel like if we associate defensive strongness with Atletico, and that is really Atletico of years gone by. Like they still fight, they still have the rigor, they still have the passion in that club, and I'm not denying that side of it. But like that
Yeah.
defensive resoluteness, I don't think is of the club that was yesteryear. If you
I
understand
guess.
what I'm saying, you know,
Yeah.
and I think Barca is fantastic. They come from behind. Obviously, your Margo was deflected, but even so, like I kid you not, Patrick, when I was score, I said, yeah,
Hmm.
they gotta come back and win now. Like it
Yeah.
just felt like they had that Atletico had that, and you know I had in my ears too. You just
Well,
tell about how Barca has always beat Atletico. Like no matter
all
what
this.
it looks like,
Yep.
Barca has
It's one of those
always beat
guaranteed things.
Atletico.
Yeah. I
And
watched
it's
the
so
game
Switzerland.
and at around 2-0, I was like, eh, maybe there's one of those days. But yeah, nah, same to you. As soon as Barcelona scored, it's like, back to business. Because they do always beat Atletico.
Yeah,
It's one
yeah,
of
yeah,
the few guaranteed things in this life. And but that
yeah,
is one of them. You are always safe to bet on Barcelona against Atletico Madrid. Home, away, neutral grounds, COVID, regular timing, swine flu, whatever. You could bet on Barcelona. They almost always. Manager
yeah.
doesn't matter, whoever's fit doesn't matter. They find a way somehow. I don't know how, but they do.
So
Title race looks amazing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
I
Real won on the
think
weekend.
Barcelona.
2-0.
Yep,
Mbappe scored
yep,
both goals.
yep. I think I think Barcelona might press on and win the title from here. Especially because they have a game in hand, and
Yeah.
you know,
Well, it have an next Clasico to go, but that
yeah,
is in May, so there's a lot of time between now and then to see what happens.
the Clásicos this season so far have been really
As
one-sided.
yeah, they heavily one-sided. Like it's not even
Yeah,
just results wise, it's
yeah,
scoreline wise. It has been
yeah.
one-sided.
So I guess we'll see. It's played on the day. I think it would be awesome if Barcelona could win something.
This
Um,
this is a real
I'm still a
question by the
Barcelona
way,
fan.
Pat.
Hmm.
But do you think it's time with Atletico and Simeone?
No, I think Simeone has made a revision to the
Yeah, yeah, I think
tactics,
so.
and he has like half the team is Argentine now, so
Yeah, boy.
might as well. And Son plays for the team. I mean, no, I don't think it's time. I don't think it's
Okay,
time.
fair
Yeah,
enough.
just continue the project and let's see where it goes. But if results don't come within the next season or the season after, they might have to cut it. But they have I think they've successfully gone through a rebuild. The team is really young. They play differently. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you just said it face off. It's not the same identity. Even though it's the same manager, it's not the same identity as 5 years ago, for example. So I just think they need
yeah,
to make some defensive signings, that's all. Or like some
yeah.
actually good
I think
defensive signings.
Lenormand was a good signing,
Yeah,
but
but at the
I
same
don't
time,
think
then they were
he's
going to buy like
been.
a long lay and them kind of man. And it's like,
Though, to be fair though,
what's going
I
on?
think Jimenez was fantastic against Real,
It
but
was.
like
But he's not always good.
Ronaldo is, and then Jimenez is older, and like I think Oblak. I don't know what it's something about Oblak
Yeah, it
now.
could be
It
time.
just it don't make me feel like how it used to make me feel with Oblak before.
No, it's
Like
time. I
I
think
I
it's
do
time.
feel shaky.
It's time with Oblak. Yeah, but a couple defensive signings I think would do them well. Because they
Probably a
have
proper
the attack
DM
is
too,
nice.
boy. Because like who really sits for
Yeah,
them in midfield?
they go kind of double pivot and they go high energy that
Yeah,
way. So they really try to
yeah.
choke like higher up the
But
field.
like I think the last time I remember them having like a out and out DM, ironically they had two, and that was when they had Rodri and Partey, and then
Hmm.
eventually both moved on.
Yeah,
And I don't think they ever had like one since then. Maybe something to look into, you know.
possibly.
But yeah, I think the title race is definitely Barca to lose now, and I mean the way that Barca have this capacity to constantly score, no matter what the circumstance seem to be, I would definitely say it's in their favor as well. For
Hmm.
a neutral point of view, I do hope it's close to the Classico. And even if all they blow them out, so be it. It'll just be a spectacle. And that's
We cool.
fine.
We cool. I would
Okay.
just like what?
No, go ahead, go ahead.
If Barcelona could just win something, it would be great, man. Because it's like every season, it's the same story. It's just, well, I didn't expect them to win anything anyway. So, whatever. You know, that kind of way. But
It will be
then
the
a couple
most
of years.
hilarious thing now if they win something after you insisted that you did not want a German manager.
Now, 100%. I thought a German manager would have been the worst thing that could happen to that club.
Yeah.
Um, but hey, maybe Flick have some French in him. I don't know. We'll have to find
All
out.
right, quickly, let me do the Prem top four race. Well, top five,
Mm-hmm.
because it does seem increasingly likely that fifth will be Champions League, right?
Correct.
If you are okay with it, I would like to exclude Arsenal from this conversation. They are 4 points above Forest, but like I kind of think like they have like a ton of their hard fixtures on the way, and I do
Mm-hmm.
think that they'll do enough
Kind of
that they'll
settle.
stay, right? Yeah.
Should be.
So then now we have Forest, Chelsea, City, all between 54 and 48 points. Then we have Newcastle with a game in hand on 47, and then Brighton, who are also on 47. And only because they are currently in the Champions League as well, I'll still include them in this conversation. Despite being in ninth, we have Aston Villa with 45 points. Now, Villa already played the game in hand. And I remember they didn't play this weekend, but they already played the game in hand. What would be your guess as to what would be third, fourth, and fifth at this point? I think Chelsea
In no
this
particular
weekend
order.
was really, really, really disappointed to me. I know that they were missing Cole Palmer, and that is literally their whole attack. But
Mm-hmm.
still, like I thought it was just weak. I thought like they had no real attempt at really
Mm-hmm.
trying to get Arsenal, to be honest, this weekend. Like honestly, it felt like if Arsenal scored it, everybody just decided, all right, cool, well, we just
GG.
leave it at that and just go out,
What
right? But then
what happened with Palmer? I don't know what happened.
apparently he
Yeah, it is.
had some
Sick.
knock on. Apparently, he had a scan today. He had a
Oh.
scan today. So apparently, there's like injury concern, not like sickness or something. But he came out the blue though, because if I remember correctly, he was on the bench for them in the Conference League fixture in midweek. So I don't know.
Yep.
Then we have
Neither do I.
City. Then we have City who drawing at home to Brighton despite taking the lead twice.
Yeah.
Can't see the clean sheet. I can't leave off Fulham, to be fair. Fulham only see other points as Villa, above Villa, and they won against Spurs this weekend. But yeah, what will be your guesses will be the last remaining Champions League spots? No particular order.
Yeah, Forest, City. Forest, City. God damn. N- Not Chelsea. Forest, City, and Newcastle.
Yeah, I think that would be mine as well. Like, I don't mean to be boring, but I think that would be mine as well. My only weird outside shot would be if Villa get knocked. Well, when Villa get knocked out against PSG, if they want to run a form from there, then maybe they might snag fifth. But like, I just don't see
Close.
Brighton or Bournemouth or Fulham sustaining it. And honestly, Chelsea, like Cole Palmer hasn't, even though Cole Palmer missed this weekend, right? Like Cole Palmer hasn't scored a goal for 2025.
Yeah.
Like that is
Not even a
crazy.
penalty.
You know, like somebody said that as the season progressed, they got closer, they got further away from what was deemed like posh style of play and got closer to what Enzo Maresca wants them to do. And as
Yeah.
they got closer to that, they got worse at goal scoring. And like I feel like Palmer in particular really thrives on when they do manage to get chaotic in the front line, you know, and really
Yeah,
break
for
on
sure.
teams and be a lot more fast paced and stuff like that. Ever since they've tried to be a lot more patient and build up, I don't think he's had the same impact. And what would you say, you know, given that Chelsea was third at points this season, Patrick, and there was talk about them being in the title race, even if it was a bit far-fetched at the time, or what would you feel about them if they do finish outside the Champions League spots for another season?
This is a huge disappointment because they were set up really well to finish top four. So
Yeah.
I just can't believe they let that slip. I don't even understand how, because it's like if someone snapped their fingers and all of a sudden they start playing poorly. That's the
Horribly,
best way
yeah.
to put it, you know what I mean? They don't play
Yeah.
well. There's not even like I don't even see an idea of what's going on, you know
What
what I
to
mean?
do. Yeah.
It's weird. They got hit with some injuries, but I don't really think that's much of an excuse.
Yeah. I thought the lineup this weekend was real weird though. Like he played for Fana right back.
Yeah.
Augusto was on the bench. And Fofana tried his very best to get sent off, and the referee keep getting blah after blah, and he keep going again and again. But yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I think Newcastle will get it in the end too. And I think that would cap off what has been a really good season for them.
Yeah, that's why I think that they will get it over everybody else, because like they just seem to be the most
Momentum.
hungry now, boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause I think Brighton have a shout too, though. In all fairness, Brighton is one of those
Okay.
weird teams that is like slowly get results. You
Chip
know what I
away
mean?
points, and yeah.
Yeah. And so
Maybe
they have a
Brighton had heavy
consistency.
investment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No. I would say Brighton had like heavy investment in his summer, so they
Yeah.
probably would be expecting something like that. And I mean, fair enough. All right, cool. I think we're not being able to head there.
Nice.
Thank you guys so much for being here with us. Patrick, thank you for making the time. Appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next week. Catch you guys next time. See you soon. Take it easy. Later.